Kia ora, namaste, my name's Dave Chain. I'm here to talk to you this morning about maximising your immune system function so that you can become and stay fit, happy, healthy, wealthy and smiling. A little bit about my background. I have a Bachelor in Physical Education from Otago University, Corrective Holistic Exercise Kinesiology from the Czech Institute, also from the Czech Institute, Nutrition and Holistic Lifestyle Coaching and Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My purpose in life is to help people become and stay fit, happy, healthy, wealthy and smiling. I believe that when we're fit, happy, healthy, wealthy and smiling, we can ask better questions, we can think better, and with that process we can consciously evolve and thrive in our own health and wellness. I'd like to preface this seminar with the concept that there is no claim here to cure, heal, prevent, mitigate or diagnose any disease. This presentation is for educational purposes only. None of the information that I'm presenting here is mine. It comes from people who know way more than I do. People like Paul Chek, Dave Asprey, Dr. Shiva Ayurveda, Dr. Eric Berg, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Zach Bush, Wim Hof and a few others. If you wish to debate any of the information that I'm presenting in this presentation, please feel free to contact me. And I'll put you in touch with the person that I gathered the information from. Again, none of this information is mine. Ask your own questions and come to your own informed conclusions. It's your body and your life. So this morning's presentation is about maximizing your immune system. The purpose of the presentation is to help people at the YMCA Invercargill, particularly the staff and our members, to maximize their immune system so that they can become and stay fit, happy, healthy, wealthy and smiling. During this presentation we'll have a look at what your immune system is and what it does, where your immune system is in your body, the things that negatively impact your immune system, and what we can do to maximize the functionality of our immune system. So, what is your immune system? Well, before we get into that, let's have a look at some background anatomy, background physiology, have an understanding of what makes up the immune system and where the immune system lies in our body. So what is the immune system? Some background anatomy. We all have these human bodies called the organism, and that organism is broken down into organ systems such as the cardiovascular system, the digestive system, circulatory system, and many more. Those systems can be broken down into organs such as the heart, the stomach, esophagus. Those individual organs are made up of tissue, and those tissues are made up of cells. The healthier the cell, the healthier the body. Alright, so now some background in physiology. We have a medical model here that's around 50 to 60 years old of the immune system, which can be broken down into the innate and adaptive system. And the innate system operates from 0 to 72 hours in terms of absorbing and destroying pathogens. We've got the external part of the innate system first, which comprises of mucous barriers in the ears, nose, throat, digestive system. And then we have the internal part of the innate immune system, comprising of neutrophils, macrophages, those sorts of things which try to absorb and destroy pathogens when they try and get into the body. The adaptive side of the immune system is more about T cells, B cells, and attacking pathogens based on specific antibodies that have been designed by the immune system to target certain pathogens. And whenever these pathogens are presented to the body again, because the immune system, the adaptive immune system already has the antibodies, then it should take charge of those and be able to kill them off pretty quickly. So as I said before in that last slide, that was some background physiology from the medical model, which is 50 to 60 years old. That background in physiology has since been updated in 2003 from a biological systems approach, which appreciates that we're all biochemically individual and require different treatment methods and different ratios of methods, and appreciates that the human body is a cybernetic being, i.e. a system of systems. As discussed in the previous slide, we've already had a look at the innate and the adaptive immune system, which is still present in the current slide. But added to that is the neural system, the interferon system, and the microbiome. So the microbiome is the interaction of bacteria, viruses, and fungi and human cells working together to keep us all fit, happy, healthy, wealthy, and smiling. The interferon system operates at the genetic level, which helps us combat pathogens, particularly viruses. The biological systems approach here, presented here, appreciates that we all need to be eating clean food, clean water, and breathing clean air, because all of these things affect our microbiome, that in turn affects our interferon system, and both of those can have a positive and negative impact on our innate and adaptive immune system. So we need to make sure that all these systems are working well and that they are working well in harmony with each other. So what does our immune system do? Well, essentially our immune system is your body's defense against infections, pathogens, and other harmful invaders. It protects us from disease. So as you can see from this next slide on where is your immune system, we've got parts of the immune system all over the body, in the bowel, bone marrow, on the skin, and the mucosal areas, in the spleen, lymph nodes, and many other areas in the body. So our immune system is located all throughout the body, and part of that, our immune system is the microbiome. And within that microbiome, it's understood that our human DNA is outnumbered 200 to 1 by viruses, bacteria, and fungi. So with those sorts of numbers, if these virus, bacteria, and fungi wanted to kill us, we are so vastly outnumbered that we wouldn't stand a chance. Ideally, what we can do is we can create a symbiotic relationship with these pathogens in our microbiome, with our own cells, so that these viruses, bacteria, and fungi, along with our own cells and DNA structure, can help to maximize our immune system. Okay, so there's some background. Let's have a look now what negatively impacts our immune system. Probably the first cab off the rank for me is age. As we age, our ability to produce hydrochloric acid in our stomach decreases, and we can't break down the food that we're eating as well, and so we don't get the same level of nutrients from our food. And as we decrease the acidity in our stomach, we also decrease the acidity in our microbiome, so become more susceptible to other pathogens and fungus and parasites such as candida. Next cab off the rank for us is nutrients, and I'm going to talk a lot more about nutrients later on in the presentation, so I won't get into it too much here. Next one is genetics. We can't change our genes, but we can influence their expression through the concept of epigenetics from Bruce Lipton. Epigenetics is a study of how we interact with our environment and how our lifestyle affects our genetic expression. And for more information on that, as I said before, you can have a look at almost any of Bruce Lipton's work. Next area to have a look at is our immune system. Medications, antibiotics, steroids, etc. are all very beneficial at the time for us, but long-term use and repeated use of these chemicals can have a negative impact on our microbiome. If our immune system is already dealing with pre-existing and chronic diseases such as diabetes, obesity, coronary heart disease, etc., this can overload the immune system, and when external pathogens get into the system, the immune system can be so taxed that it finds it too hard to start to deal with any of the pathogens that are coming in. And as a result, we become more susceptible to pathogens entering the body and creates disease within our body. Stress has another big impact on our immune system, especially in the modern day life in which we live. Stress can suppress our immune system through the release of cortisol, and I'll talk more about that later, which can suppress white blood cell production. So that's enough about what negatively affects our immune system. Let's have a look at what we can do to maximize our immune system. We're going to have a look at age, stress, nutrition and nutrigenetics, sleep, exercise and hydration. There are two types of age that I'm interested in with respect to this presentation. The first is chronicle age, which is the number of years that a person has been alive. And the second is biological age, which refers to how old a person seems relative to how well they function and how well they look. Biological age is also referred to as physiological age and takes into account many lifestyle factors, including diet, exercise, sleep habits, just to name a few. As much as some of us would like to be able to, we can't change our chronological age, but we can definitely influence our biological age. One way to assess this is by looking at the different biological markers presented in our body, including and not limited to the length of our telomeres. Okay, let's have a look at how stress can negatively impact our immune system and how it can positively impact our immune system. Within our bodies we have a nervous system, and part of that nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system, as its name suggests, is automatic. It's comprised of two main parts, the parasympathetic, or the rest and digest, as it's otherwise known, and the sympathetic, or the fight and flight, as it's otherwise known. The parasympathetic branch of our autonomic nervous system, or the rest and digest side, is about recovering, regathering, and strengthening of our resources. Our sympathetic side of our autonomic nervous system is our action stations. It pushes us into fight and flight. And just like a seesaw, we need to have a balance between the fight and flight and the rest and digest. Too much time is spent in fight and flight, and we drain our body of the resources to fight infections. And too much time is spent in the parasympathetic side of things, or the rest and digest, doesn't provide enough stimulus for us to be able to strengthen our immune system. For the most part, our modern day lifestyles keep us in a state of fight and flight, draining our immune system resources. The fastest way to switch from fight and flight to rest and digest is through diaphragmatic breathing. As you can see from the slide here, the diaphragm is pushing down on the liver, and as the liver pushes down on the other internal organs, it makes the stomach come out. So when we diaphragmatically breathe, the diaphragm contracts, the tummy and the ribs expand, and when we breathe out, our diaphragm relaxes and the tummy and the chest contract. It takes approximately 4 diaphragmatic breaths to switch from a fight and flight state to a rest and digest state. Over the last wee while, stress has had some really bad publicity in terms of how bad it is for us, and certainly how bad it is for our immune system. We need stress though in order to be able to create stimulus for change and to be able to grow and become stronger. So we need some level of stress. In this instance, our immune system needs to be challenged by some pathogen entering the body, and then our immune system can go to work and start developing ways of eliminating that pathogen, whether it's through our innate or whether it's through our adaptive immune system. And then once the immune system has done its work, then we need some time to be able to get into our parasympathetic side of things, our rest and digest, to be able to rest and recover from the infection. So the hormetic stress for our immune system is a bit like periodizing a physical training routine. We want to train smart, we want to train hard, and then we want to recover. We want to train hard, and we want to train smart, and then we want to recover. If we apply the stimulus recover approach to our immune system, we can make it better and stronger. And there are lots of different ways that we can do this, but one of my favorite ways to do this is by practicing Wim Hof's breathing and cold water therapy through taking cold showers. And again, there are lots of different ways to do that. But if you want more information on that, then I recommend you go to the man himself, Wim Hof. If you throw that in your search browser on the internet, Wim's gone to the trouble to put up a lot of different videos on how to do that, and there are certainly a lot of his students who are following what he does, and they've got their own videos up there giving anecdotal evidence and testimonials about how good his system is and what it's done for them in terms of boosting their immune system and improving their health and wellness. So the origin of stress is of no consequence to the body. It might be financial, family issues, problems at work, too much correspondence, social media, mainstream media. The body goes through the same process in any stress response. That is that the hypothalamus gland talks to the pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland talks to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands start releasing cortisol. And the release of cortisol is a good thing. It's something that you want to have happen. That helps us cope and deal with the stresses that are being placed in front of us. The problem is that we have too much chronic stress and we keep getting upregulated releases of cortisol into our body. The ongoing release of this cortisol into our body has implications for our immune system, and that it starts to decrease the production of white blood cells. And without the production of white blood cells, our immune system can't be as effective as it should be. I'd like to take a small moment here to thank Paul Check for his pictures in this particular slide, and for a more holistic understanding of how stress can have a positive and negative impact on your body, I recommend that you have a read of Paul Check's book Eat, Move and Be Healthy, and or his book The Last 4 Doctors You Will Ever Need. For the most part, I think stress in our lives is driven by these 4 components: perception, fear, constant stimulation, and stimulant abuse, i.e. coffee, and energy drinks. In the picture in this slide, there exists both an older lady looking side on to us and a younger lady looking to the right away from us. And depending on your perception, neither perception is wrong, it's just a matter of your own perception and your perspective on things. Kelly McGonigal, in her TED Talk, How to Make Stress Your Friend, points out that people who view challenging situations as stressful and that they see stress as bad for their health will inevitably end up with bad health. People who find challenging situations stressful but don't see stress as harmful to their health will not end up with any ill health effects caused by the challenges and stress in their life. Fear also has the ability to push us into a fight or flight situation, and again that fight or flight situation releases cortisol into our bloodstream, which again in turn suppresses our white blood cell production. If we reduce or suppress our white blood cell production, then that causes an ill effect on our immune system. If you can push through the fear and get the tasks done that are causing the fear in the first place, then that completely changes our physiology into one of courage. In this ever-changing world of do more, be more, and have more, we're provided with constant stimulation, whether it's mass media, social media, print media, talking with our friends, keeping up with the Joneses. There are always things to be able to take our attention and keep us constantly stimulated. That constant stimulation keeps us on edge and doesn't allow us to get into our fight, doesn't allow us to come out of our fight and flight situation and back into our rest and digest part of our autonomic nervous system. And we need to have that alternation between rest and digest and fight and flight. So if you're one of those people who picks up their phone every 3 to 5 minutes to check for messages and get an update on social media, I fully recommend that you put your phone down, put it on airplane mode, or just turn it off, sit down, relax, and just chill out and let your body get into a state of rest and digest for a while before you put the next stimulant in there and cause yourself to move into a fight or flight situation. Substance abuse. I'm the first person to admit that I'm a nicer person on coffee. I don't particularly care for energy drinks, but coffee certainly makes me function at a cognitive and physical level a whole lot better than I do without it. I also recognise that while I enjoy coffee and I enjoy the effects of coffee, my body doesn't metabolize it very well, and if I have too much coffee, it drains my immune system and affects me in a negative manner. It releases too much cortisol in my system, suppresses my white blood cell count, and I've seen this in my own blood tests. It's quite fascinating. So if you're someone who gets the jitters with coffee, I recommend that you change the coffee that you're having. Also try putting some protein and or cream with the coffee so it takes away some of the ill effects of your adrenal glands. And also make sure that you cycle your coffee. Have a day with it and then a day without it, so you're letting your body go into that fight or flight situation, but also come back into rest and digest. So as you can see here, stress can affect the body in many negative ways, but as we said before, with respect to Kelly McGonigal's TED Talk on how to make stress your friend, stress will only have these negative effects if we view stress as harmful to our body. So stress can have a negative effect on our brain in terms of our inability to concentrate and increase our anxiety, can have a negative effect on our cardiovascular system with respect to increasing blood pressure and increasing cortisol, inflammation in our joints, suppressing our immune system, hair loss, skin irritations, an inability to absorb nutrients from our gut, and will also slow down and change our reproductive system through decreasing our hormonal production. So those are some of the negative effects of stress, but again, that's only if we believe that stress is bad for us. Okay, so now I want to have a quick chat about nutrition and science of nutrigenomics. We are what we eat. We all know that, we've all heard it thousands of times before, but what does that actually mean? It means that we're eating clean food, food that's unprocessed, ideally spray-free, even more importantly free range, and if you can get and afford organic or biodynamic, that's probably the best kind of food that you can be eating. In this section we'll also be talking about you are what you eat, intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, and restricted calories, macronutrient ratios, supplements, nutrigenomics with respect to NRF2 activation, and how all those can affect our immune system. So we've all heard the saying, we are what we eat, but we are also what we can absorb from the food that we eat. We are also an element of when we eat, and we are also an element of what we don't excrete from the food that we're eating. So with respect to the food that we're eating, and we are what we absorb, our digestion process starts when we start to hear, think about, see or smell food being prepared. That starts to produce saliva in our mouth, and as that saliva builds up in our mouth, we can start to feel our tummy starting to grumble and get a little bit hungry. We start to eat the food, and we want to chew that food to liquidation or at least mush. And then once we've chewed the food to mush or liquidation, we swallow the food, goes into our stomach, and our stomach produces the hydrochloric acid to break the food down even further. And as the hydrochloric acid breaks the food down in our stomach, it moves on to the small intestine. In the small intestine, there is digestive enzymes that are released to help break the food down even more. That food is passed off into the liver through the portal vein. Waste products are then pushed out the body via the gallbladder through the intestines again, and the rest of the food, nutrients from the food, is pumped around the body to replace the cells and nourish the body. So as we age, then we lose the ability to absorb the food. We also lose, in doing that, we also lose the ability to nourish the body, repair cells, replace cells, and we also lose the ability to restore our immune system. So by chewing our food to liquidation and or eating pre-digested food, we can improve our food absorption. Another way to improve our food absorption and or just improve our digestive systems is by following the rules of you are when you eat. And that simply implies that we're going to apply a hormetic stress to the digestive system through the processes of time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting, and or calorie restriction. If you would like more information on these principles, please feel free to join us for our 21-day intermittent fasting program. And if you keep an eye on our Facebook page, the YMCA Invercargill Facebook page that is, we'll let you know when those are coming up. If you don't want to wait for that, then you can find more information through Dave Asprey and also Dr. Jason Fong. Dr. William Walcott and others came up with the concept of metabolic typing, which suggests that we all look different on the outside and we all function very differently on the inside. So the macronutrient ratio that works well for me in terms of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates might not necessarily work very well for you. And as part of that process, we, over the course of years, have been all encouraged to eat something similar along the lines of the food pyramid. And while this may work very well for some people, it may provide others with too much sugar and glucose in their diet, and this can increase the growth of candida and create more of a monolite culture in the gut biome, which becomes problematic. A high sugar diet also increases the productions of gliotoxins, which start to destroy T cells and macrophages, and this obviously has an adverse effect on both the innate and adaptive parts of the immune system. So now we've considered how the neural system through the autonomic nervous system affects the immune system with respect to our fight and flight response and our rest and digest. We've also looked at how the food quality, food absorption can affect our microbiome, and how the microbiome can also affect the immune system. So now let's have a look at supplementation. In the ideal world, we'd be able to get all the supplements and requirements from our diet that we need for our bodies that we need from our natural diet, but unfortunately this just isn't the case. Through aggressive farming practices, applying chemicals to our food and the soil, we've robbed the plants of their nutrition from the soil, and if they're not getting the nutrition that they need to feed and sustain and nourish themselves, then they can't pass that on to us. So some of the supplements that I would recommend that you use to improve or maximize your immune system would be vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C, selenium, because New Zealand soil lacks that, also magnesium and zinc, and some form of pre and or probiotic. So vitamin A is important for a number of functions throughout the body, but in particularly vitamin A is known as an anti-inflammatory because of its crucial role in enhancing immune function. It can be found in egg yolks and in butter, that is butter made by pasture-raised fed cows, and cod liver oil. Vitamin D is best absorbed by the sun. However, if you can't, for whatever reason, get access to the sun, or it has an adverse effect on you, then you may want to consider taking vitamin D as a supplement. If you're going to do that, the vitamin D you want is vitamin D3. This can help modulate the innate and adaptive immune systems. Deficiency in vitamin D is associated with increased autoimmunity as well as increased susceptibility to infection. Vitamin C contributes to the immune defense system by supporting various cellular functions of both the innate and adaptive immune system. The best source of vitamin C in a natural diet is biodynamic organic sauerkraut. And if you can't get that for whatever reason, then consider taking a vitamin C supplementation. Consuming pre and probiotics may give your immune system a boost by inhibiting the growth of harmful bacteria and other pathogens. Some pre and probiotics have also been shown to promote the production of natural antibodies in the body. They may also boost immune cells like IgA producing cells, T lymphocytes and natural killer cells. We talked briefly before about the hierarchy of the body. A healthy body requires healthy organ systems. Healthy organ systems require healthy organs. Healthy organs require healthy tissues, and healthy tissues require healthy cells. Vitamin A plays a major role in protecting the cellular wall. And by making sure we have vitamin A in our diet and we have strong, healthy cell walls, then we can prevent pathogens, viruses, bacteria, fungi from getting access to the cell through the cell wall. Time now to have a look at nutrigenomics. We talked earlier about genes and how we can't change genetic predisposition. However, we can, through nutrigenomics, change the expression of our genes. Nutrigenomics is a study of the effects of foods and food-like constituents or compounds on our gene expressions. We are essentially just biohacking our biology. If you would like more information on how to biohack your biology, you can have a look at Dave Asprey's work online, or you can contact me at the YMCA, Dave, YMCA South, Dave at ymcasouth.org.nz. That's Dave at ymcasouth.org.nz. Potentially one of the easiest ways to biohack your biology and improve your immune system is by decreasing the damage that oxidative stress causes. Oxidative stress, in simple terms, is simply the rusting of the cells in our body. As a working example, if we were to leave a tomato on the bench for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, we would slowly start to see the quality of that tomato start to deteriorate, start to see brown spots, and over a period of time the tomato belongs more in the compost than it does on the bench. Another example of this is when we cut an apple open, we eat half the apple and leave the other half on the bench, and we can start to see the apple that we've left on the bench starts to go brown. This is called oxidation, and the longer you leave the apple, much like the tomato, the more it starts to change its form, and this is the damage caused by oxidative stress. So what causes oxidative stress? Well, pretty much anything that we do in our everyday life activities exposes us to oxidative stress, whether it's just breathing, the use of our cell phones, the use of microwave ovens, drinking tap water, too much, too little exercise, exposure to chemicals from factories, exposure to electromagnetic fields, using or breathing in fumes from petrochemicals. Pretty much anything that we do has some level of oxidative stress attached to it, and while it's not the oxidative stress that is the issue per se, it certainly is the damage that's caused by the oxidative stress that is the problem. So let's have a look at a few facts and figures around how much oxidative stress we have. Depending on the literature that you read, we have around 30 to 40 trillion cells in our body. And within each of those cells in our body, we potentially have millions of free radicals. That's around 3.72 quintillion free radicals floating around in our body. It takes one antioxidant to get rid of one free radical. So what might that look like? Well, in a punnet of organic blueberries, there are around 6,700 antioxidants. That's a lot of blueberries to have to eat to be able to mitigate the damage that's being caused by those 3.72 quintillion free radicals. So how do we reduce or at least manage oxidative stress? Well, first thing you want to do is have a look at your lifestyle, and if you're smoking, stop that. If you're excessively drinking, stop that. Next thing you want to do is make sure you get some good exercise, get some good sleep, and above all, get lots of antioxidants through your diet. Now, how do you do that? If you ensure that you've got good colour, a good variety of colour, good variety of texture, over your plate during the course of the week as opposed to just one day, then you can maximize the amount of antioxidants that you're getting in your body, and that can help to start manage the oxidative stress. Once you've got that sorted, the next thing that you can do is you can turn off what's called your NRF2 pathway. Now, your NRF2 pathway is something that you were born with, and as we age and get to the age of around 20 to 25 years of age, that pathway begins to switch off and our aging process really starts to kick in. When we access our NRF2 pathway, we start to produce the most powerful antioxidants that the body has, and catalase, glutathione, and superoxide dismutase. Just one molecule of superoxide dismutase in a cell can eliminate 1 million free radicals, which makes it a really, really efficient antioxidant. And your body can produce that all by itself, and does so up until the age of 25. There are a couple of different ways that you can do this. One is through fasting, and if you want, not fasting, calorie restriction. If you want more information on that, you could have a look at Dr. Michael Mosley's work. The other way you can do it is by activating the NRF2 pathway, is to do so through eating different foods and different food compounds. If you'd like more information on that, feel free to contact me on dave@ymcasouth.org.nz. That's dave@ymcasouth.org.nz. Okay, let's have a look at genetics. Epigenetics is the study and changes in an organism caused by modification of the gene expression through nutrition and lifestyle factors rather than alteration of the genetic code itself. So while we can't change the genetic code itself, we can change the expression through the theory of epigenetics. And if you would like more information on epigenetics, I fully recommend that you have a look at any of Bruce Lipton's work. That's Dr. Bruce Lipton. If you've got children, you'll appreciate the benefits of a good night's sleep. Dr. Michael Brews, the author of The Power of When, it's a study of people's chronotype and their circadian rhythms and what circadian rhythm works best for you, is where I would begin to start looking at my sleep and the quality of my sleep. But for the purpose of this seminar, let's have a quick look at what promotes good sleep and poor sleep. And then when you're ready, you can go and have a look at Michael's work. In fact, he's got a free online quiz called The Power of When that you can take, and that'll help you identify the appropriate sleeping times for you. So what causes poor sleep? Bright lights late at night through either the use of your TV, cell phone, computer, coffee after 2 p.m. Coffee has a half-life of 7 hours, so if you're drinking coffee after 2 p.m. it's going to be problematic for your sleep. Some people insist that they can go to sleep straight away after having a cup of coffee at night. That doesn't change the fact that it's disrupting your sleep patterns, even if you're falling asleep straight away. Too much to eat right before going to bed can be problematic for the quality of your sleep. Going to bed outside your chronotype can be problematic. An imbalance of fungi and bacteria, or too much water before you go to bed, if you're suffering any musculoskeletal pain, can also cause problems in terms of the quality of your sleep and the amount of sleep that you're getting. Also, lack of exercise and too much stress can be negative towards the quality of sleep and the amount of sleep that you're getting. A good night's sleep can be best promoted by activating our parasympathetic nervous system, getting into our rest and digest. That is, having a wind-down period where you're doing some art, some qigong, tai chi, yoga, anything that brings you into your parasympathetic nervous system dominance. Decrease the bright lights, increase your diaphragmatic breathing, certain types of yoga, decreasing your alcohol intake and coffee during the day, and eating right for your metabolic type will also aid your ability in getting a good night's sleep. A good exercise session will also help the body get a good night's sleep, but if you're exercising too late during the day and too hard during the day, that'll cause a disruption in your sleep. There are three sections that I want to have a look at during this slide. One is using exercise to pump and clean the body. The other is the concept of making sure that we're training the body and we're not just draining the body. So when we're exercising then, it doesn't mean that we have to run our bodies into the ground. In fact, it's better that you don't run your body into the ground. But it is important that we move, and that we move in appropriate manners that support our lifestyle activities. And we don't, as I said before, we don't need to run ourselves into the ground. We just need enough stimulus to be able to create the change to move towards our training goals. And during that, we also want to make sure that we're pumping the lymphatic system and cleaning our body out. So the key to training is making sure that we've got a good stimulus, and that's followed by a good rest. If we continue to run our body into the ground to satisfy our egos on how much we can do and have and be, then we will run into overtraining issues, which causes further complications for our immune system. And while the training that we do needs to be specific to our goals, we also want to get some implementation of getting out in nature and connecting with the earth, getting barefoot on the ground, on the soil, or in the water, in the dirt, sand, whatever it is that you're using, and helping our bodies connect with the earth. It has a lot of benefits for it, including sleep, reducing pain, and many other factors. So in summary then, we want to make sure that we're pumping the body to be able to clean the body out of all its toxins. The toxins go out through the lymph glands and we sweat them out. So we want to make sure that we're using the body as a pump, as an effective mechanism to clean those toxins out. We also want to make sure that we're training our body to respond to the stimulus that we're giving it, and we're not just running ourselves into the ground. And where possible, we want to connect with the earth to make sure that we're getting the electrons from the ground into the body. And if possible, we can exercise with others. Exercising with others can help us increase our microbiome diversity, and that's certainly, anytime you can do that through gardening or connecting with others, is a good thing to do to boost your immune system. So helping keep our body clean, it's really important to stay hydrated. Ideally we'll be drinking filtered water through some level of glass container rather than plastic. Plastic leaches xenoestrogens into our water, which can mimic estrogens, and that can become problematic for our hormonal balances. Water consumption every day would be your own body weight times 0.033. And if you're filtering your water to the level that takes out chlorine and fluoride, it would pay to add a pinch of either New Zealand organic sea salt or Himalayan rock salt or Celtic sea salt in order to balance out the electrolytes in your water. A 2% dehydration is equal to a 20% decrease in performance. All chemical reactions in the body take place in the presence of water, so if you want to balance those out as best you can, then make sure that you stay hydrated. Water is also really important in terms of lubricating the joints, protecting the spine, lowering blood pressure, and making sure that we have bowel movements without constipation. So as we come to the close of this presentation, let's have a look as a brief summary of what we've covered in maximising your immune system. We had a look at the background of the anatomy. We understand that the immune system is located all over the body, and that there is a hierarchy within our body. The body is a cybernetic being, or a system of systems, and that if we want to have a healthy body, we need to have healthy organ systems such as cardiovascular system, digestive system. And within those organ systems, we want to have healthy organs. Within the organs, we want to have healthy tissue. And within that healthy tissue, we really want to have healthy cells. And making sure that we've got adequate vitamin A intake is really key to that. Next, we covered the physiology in the body regarding the immune system, and we had a look at an outdated model from 50-60 years ago of the innate and the adaptive immune system, and then we covered off the changes that have been made in that in 2003 by Dr. Shiva Ayurveda, and his inclusion of the nervous system, the microbiome, and how they interact with each other and support the immune system as a whole. We also had a look at where the immune system is located, and we discovered that the immune system is not located in one particular body, but in many aspects and different locations within the body. Perhaps the one that we're just starting to get a grip on and understanding the most is the microbiome, and how our DNA is outnumbered by the fungus, parasites, and other pathogens that live in us and on us, and how we can work with those fungi, parasites, bacteria, viruses to help us maximize our immune system function. We also had a quick look at what the immune system does in terms of it being our body's defense against infectious pathogens and other harmful invaders. We also had a look at some of the things that contribute to having a poor immune system and maximizing our immune system. So as we age, our thyroid function starts to slow down, so we can't convert carotenoids into vitamin A. We also lose some of the production of a hydrochloric acid, so we can't digest and absorb the nutrients from our food as much as we would like to. That also has a negative impact on the microbiome in the gut. We also had a look at the quality of food, our ability to absorb that food, and making sure that we've got good hydrochloric acid, we've got good digestive enzymes, and that we're able to really break down and absorb the nutrients from the food that we're eating. While we appreciate the benefits that antibiotics, steroids, and prescription drugs can provide to us from time to time, constant use and chronic overload of those particular chemicals can also be problematic for our immune system. We had a look at pre-existing and chronic diseases within the body and how they can overload the immune system, and by just making sure that we're doing all that we can in terms of our lifestyle factors to mitigate those diseases, then we can help to improve our immune system. We also had a really good look at stress, the negative aspects of stress, the autonomic nervous system in general, and how it regulates our fight and flight response and our rest and digest, and the importance of making sure that we have some stimulus for change in terms of activating our fight or flight response. But almost more importantly, especially in this day and age that we're currently living in, we want to make sure that we get access. Next, we had a look at nutrition, the importance of good clean food, and our ability to absorb that good clean food. We had a good look at the science of nutrigenetics and making sure that we can minimize our oxidative stress, and if we have got more oxidative stress than we need, what we can do to maximize our own NRF2 pathways to ensure that we've got our own production of antioxidants happening so that we can mitigate the damage caused by oxidative stress. And again, if you would like to know more about activating the NRF2 pathways, you're welcome to contact me via email, dave@ymcasouth.org.nz. Further to that, we had a look at sleep and how to make sure that we're maximizing the quality and the quantity of sleep that we're getting. We had a look at exercise in terms of understanding that we don't want to drain the body, we want to train the body, and we want to make sure that the exercise that we're getting is connecting ourselves with others so that we can increase the diversity of our microbiome, that we're getting access to the ground with respect to getting the electrons from the ground, and almost more importantly that when we exercise that we're pumping the body as a whole system rather than in isolated muscle groups. That'll make sure that we're able to push toxins out of our body through the lymphatic system. We also had a quick look at hydration and the importance of hydration with respect to the body overall, and understanding that all chemical equations take place in the body in the presence of water, and the more hydrated we are, the more efficient those chemical equations can be. Thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this presentation. I hope you've been able to get something out of it. If you have any inquiries about your own health and wellness and have enjoyed some of the things that I've said, and you'd like some help with your own health and wellness, I'm happy to offer you a free 30-minute consult, either over the phone or when the shutdown ends. We can do that in person. Just simply email me at dave@ymcasouth.org.nz and we can get that sorted. Equally, if you have some discussion points that you'd like to bring up with me around the presentation, whether you liked it or whether you didn't like it, or you want more information, feel free to email me on that same address and I'll put you in contact with the person that I sourced the information, because none of this information is mine. Quick shout out to people like Paul Chek, Wim Hof, Dr. Shiva Ayurveda, William Walcott, Dr. Jason Fong, and Dave Asprey, and all those who have inspired me to want to find out more about this. Thanks very much for making your information freely available, and I've made this freely available online, and wish you well during this COVID-19 lockdown. Hope you and the rest of your loved ones in your bubble are able to stay safe and well. Take care. Namaste.